Hey folks, welcome back to part 2 of Mitch's movie Mixtape.
It's Mixtape part 2.
The second part, that is, if you speak English.
Thanks for that.
Joining us, introduce yourself.
Oh, I'm doing it myself this time.
Yeah.
Okay. Hello, I'm Mitch Bain. I'm back again. I am the co-host of Strong Language and Violent Scenes, the podcast giving a second chance to films that might not deserve them. I also do other things.
What other things?
We can talk about them. I score movies sometimes.
He does score films sometimes. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
I do sometimes, every now and again.
On the occasion.
And I guess that's mostly it. I keep on getting ready to talk about being in a band, then I realise that I'm not in a band anymore, and I get quite sad.
Fuck it. We're going to come absolutely bouncing off the back of that classic Lisa Loeb chat at the end of the last episode, and we're going to careen into your next choice, and then I think we'll start taking turns. What we've done is we've picked presumably listeners, you've taken the time to listen to that previous episode. If not, I'd encourage you to do so, but we've picked a bunch of tracks between us. So Mitch has picked 10, the three hosts of Unsung, myself, Martin, David, we've picked 3 each plus a wild card each, the wild card being a song that, as far as we're aware, hasn't been used in the movie and probably could, and we'll try and pick a scene that would suit it. So we're going to take turns now, go through them, and we'll throw in some listener suggestions that we got from our AAA Unsung group on Facebook. For all the boomers out there, if you want access to our AAA Unsung group, you need to fucking subscribe, you cheap bastards. So Mark, where should they go?
Go to patreon.com/unsungpod. Get lots of cool stuff starting from $2 per month. Hey, listen, I'm going to ring off something here that I've listened to in our podcast. Right, I'm going to say the same thing.
Are you going off? You going off script?
Going off script here. Do you know what? I might. No, I was going to put an American accent for it, but I won't do that. So we are free of advertising, and we would like to keep it that way. So if you could go and donate to our Patreon, that'd be very much appreciated. Thank you. You get some really nice things like episodes, access to episodes quite early, and then as the tiers go up, you can get access to other benefits, which are fun times.
Like, if you don't back us through Patreon, it leaves us 2 options. The 2 options chosen by other podcasts. The first being to take advertising from third parties, which sucks because it comes at the start, usually just as you're having a nice time in the middle and wherever else. Or the second option facing podcasters is to just start inviting guests on from the alt-right, because the alt-right they just monetize things way better than the left, and
that's why I'm here.
Exactly. So Mitch is here because right now we're trying to wring money out of you, but if we have to start doing a Joe Rogan, we're not going to be fucking pleased about it. Alright, so just don't put us in a corner. Nobody puts baby in a corner. Right?
I have Alex Jones on speed dial. I don't want to call him.
So Mark, David, Chris,
yeah.
One of you guys want to choose one of your tunes?
Go for it, Mark.
I guess I'm going first then. Let me look at my list here. There's obviously 3 songs I can choose from. I think I'm going to go with Under Pressure.
Fine choice. However, asterisk. No, carry on.
So it's actually really overused as a musical cue, and it'll drop in so many films and TV shows and adverts. It's a super overdone thing. This film for me is fine. It's from a film called It's Kind of a Funny Story, and I think it's charming. It's kind of nice. The usage of this song in that film gives me goosebumps every single time. It makes me smile like a fucking idiot whenever I see this. So I'll give you the sort of cliff notes of the film. So it's about this guy, this teenager, maybe early 20s.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's like 16.
Yeah,
16.
Goes into he's got mental health problems, and he ends up getting quote unquote committed, I suppose you could say. Things ensue. He gets infatuated with this girl, and this girl gets infatuated with him, and they end up in the film. In this particular scene, it's like group musical therapy, and I guess the teacher gets everybody involved, and they start playing really badly this song, Under Pressure. But then in his head, it kind of transforms into this spectacular LED lit, fanciful costumes, like just the most glam rock thing in the entire world, and it's just so much fun. I just love it.
You know what? I kind of I got what it was going for. Like, I don't know, man. I didn't think it all entirely got there. And in fact, one of your other choices, I think, goes in a slightly similar direction, but just exponentially to a better extent. It's all right. It's like uplifting.
Have you seen the film?
Have you seen the film? Yeah,
I've seen enough of the film. I'm not.
So that's a no then. Okay.
No, but that's because I just wasn't really feeling it. I didn't want to see it through. Zach Galifianakis, I'm not really particularly fussed on. I mean, it looks like an okay film. It's like a fun bit. It's like an uplifting, if slightly somber indie film.
Yeah,
in its tone. I don't know, man. It's all right. I get it, but I feel like it was a sort of own brand version of one of your other choices, which I absolutely am on side with.
I think this film's great. The minute that I saw this on your list, I was annoyed that I didn't pick it. Because I think this is class. I felt like I as a musical cue, I think this is fucking awesome. I think that there is a real sadness that underpins it.
Yeah,
because you kind of see it like pitched in this really glamorous way, which is obviously like a million miles removed from the day-to-day lives of these people. But like, I thought this was awesome. Like, I love this film. I love this book, and I really like this as a choice. I think it's quality. I think it gets it dead right. You get this real exhilaration from watching it unfold when these people are kind of like, you know, like they're living out this kind of rock star kind of fantasy, and when it pulls back into the reality of, you know, what this is born out of, I think that like it's simultaneously just kind of like really hopeful and really sad, and I think it's a really audacious choice in the middle of a film that the rest of the time kind of tells a relatively simple story in a relatively simple way. And I think it's cool that it does it. I think that it's the first of a couple of instances in this film that there's like real ambition. Like, I think the other things that would come to mind would be like the animated sequences and things like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, obviously, like, we weren't the only people that saw that. The director duo that wrote this that made this went on to make Captain Marvel.
Yes.
I think there's fucking bags of ingenuity in this and bags of emotional heft. I think that it gets a lot of the stuff that the book tries to do dead right. I think this is great. I think this is like as good a pick, or if not better, than most of the things on my list. I was when I saw it on yours, I was like, fuck, I knew there was one. So I'm 100% on your side on this one, right?
Get a room.
Every single time I see it on YouTube or whatever, it just gives me goosebumps. It is a singular moment of joy in a film, which I think, like I said, I think is fine, but it is often quite somber and dark. So
also, if we did get a room, we would just watch it's kind of a funny story and softly cry on each other.
Well, I guess I'll maybe go next then.
Yes, David.
My next choice is very bittersweet and definitely does goosebumps and maybe tears, and it's Hello Stranger by Barbara Lewis from Moonlight.
It seems like a mighty long time.
Oh God, yeah.
And I mean, I fucking love this movie. It's like, I'm not one for emotional dramas. I love scanners and seeing heads.
You prefer
explode.
Dinosaurs.
Not enough new metal.
And I love dinosaurs, exactly. But I mean, Moonlight just really fucking caught me unawares. It just absolutely beautiful. Absolutely deserved Best Picture as well. Was that the one that
they called the wrong thing?
La La Land, yeah.
I was actually going to make a joke where we called out the wrong film in this one.
Damn it. But yeah, like if nobody's seen it, then it's basically the story of...
I thought everybody had seen it apart from me.
Well, possibly, yeah.
I've not seen it either, and you reminded me to watch it.
Oh well.
No, it's the Best Picture winner that the fewest people have seen.
Yeah, I mean, because it only had a budget of about $1 million. It was a small movie directed by Barry Jenkins. The cast is so good in it, and it tells the story in three sort of life stages of a young gay black guy growing up in Miami. And this part comes in near the end. In the third stage, Chiron, who's now called Black in this stage of his life, is reflecting and meets up with somebody that he had his old childhood friend, and he then had a sort of romantic rendezvous at one point, but it was very sort of bittersweet. they come back after not seeing each other for about 10 years. They're in a diner, and Kevin puts this track on the jukebox just after the diner's closed, and the two of them are there. And I mean, it's fucking heartbreaking. It's so bittersweet. It's beautiful. It just sums up it's the total emotional pinnacle of this movie. And man, it's absolutely fucking brilliant. And the song's, amazing anyway.
Yeah. Can I make an observation just about the choice of Motown for it? I've not seen the film, but it does seem like in the scene that the song itself does a lot of the talking.
Oh man, yeah,
I think that
it's very much. I mean, you mentioned Kermode and Mayo. Kermode's always on about show not tell, and they say very little in this scene, and a huge amount of it is subtext. But like a lot of it is then also done by the track, but it conveys emotion rather than plot.
I will say that's something that really strikes me about some of the classic Motown in general. Like, it sometimes masks its darker feelings.
Well, it's quite melancholy, Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a lot of Motown Old Soul has a sort of like understated romance to it, like a sadness and a longing, but it often sort of cushions it within like deceptively sort of upbeat musical arrangements. And I think there's like an unwillingness in a lot of it to really speak one's mind. There's maybe also in some of the kind of male-led Motown quite a machismo around it. Like, there's a genuine feeling of regret in a lot of the songs by a lot of the classic male artists of that era, but they're sort of quite guarded in how they express what they're saying, and it seems quite appropriate in the context of this. I know it's a female voice, but I can see the choice. I don't have much emotional connection to it because I've not seen it. It's not a film that really appeals to me on any level. I don't know why.
Well,
I'm not. It's really good. It's great. It's amazing.
It's so good. It's like I love seeing people explode and dinosaurs eat people, but this is just a stunningly brilliant movie. I would recommend it. And yeah, fucking great tune.
Yeah, I like it a lot. And like, I think it's a good show. Like, I really love Moonlight. Sorry, fucking hell.
La La Land, sorry.
Moonlight.
Is that the one?
I don't know why.
Yeah,
I'll watch 4 months, 3 weeks, 2 days, 1 hour Romanian films about abortion, and yet there's nothing about Moonlight that makes me want to see it. Can't explain it.
That film, I actually studied that in uni, that film.
Did you?
Yeah,
It must have been a fun.
It was not a fun class though. It's all about realism and stuff. It was that says it was quite interesting. Anyway,
so is that me? Am I up?
You're up.
Yep.
All right. Let's just start as a. No, you know what? I'm going to start understated. I've mentioned this song before. Don't Be Afraid You're Already Dead, from the film World's Greatest Dad by the group Akron Family.
Love is simple.
First of all, have you guys seen this film?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, I have. Yeah. It's so good, man. It's so good.
If we did the Unsung Movie podcast, this would be week 1. I just think this is a fucking excellent film. It's Robin Williams at his finest. Like, fuck 1 hour photo, man. This is peak Robin Williams. It's a Bobcat Goldthwait film. I love Bobcat Goldthwait anyway. I mean, spoiler alert, if you're going to watch this film, skip forward 30 seconds to a minute, because the context here is really important. Robin Williams has a horrible piece of shit for a son, a little fucking wido perv called Kyle.
The Spy Kids guy.
This scene depicts...
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
Yeah. This scene depicts Kyle dying as a result of autoerotic asphyxiation after he's masturbating on a phone that he's with a phone with a photo on it that he surreptitiously took of his dad's girlfriend under a table at dinner. I mean, it's just like,
I thought I hadn't seen this, but now you've said that, I do remember this film.
It's the deepest black comedy. I mean, it is just...
Yeah, it reminds me of Happiness.
It does all like that, yeah. Todd Solondz kind of humour, yeah. Like, it's good.
That's a good comparator.
It's a really absurd scene. It's like, the song is so like, I don't want to say it's earnest because Akron Family are quite unusual, but I mean, this song starts in just as Robin Williams finds Kyle's body and sort of stumbles in and thinks he's wanking and then realises that he's actually died. And then by the time the chorus kicks in, you've got Robin Williams, the volume of the scene is muted, it's just the music, and he's howling in anguish, and it's a really, really heart-wrenching depiction, you know, where he's fetal on the ground holding his son's body. Bearing in mind his son's still got a leather belt around his neck and his dick hanging out, and it's just, I mean, it's pitch black humour. It's absolutely pitch black humour. And then Robin Williams goes about trying to hide the facts of the death, and honestly, it's such a brilliant nihilistic combination of like a genuine, beautiful, swelling, multi-part harmonies, and this really fucking grim comedy in the background.
But it's a punishingly sad sequence from Robin Williams' character's perspective when you see him trying to rearrange the suicide into this thing that is much more dignified, and then obviously you see him trying to kind of like falsify the suicide note that kind of reappropriates, like you say, like the son who is a total piece of shit. Like there's like it's like just like trying to like just reappropriate him as being this kind of like this thoughtful guy that everybody misunderstood, and it's all just painfully sad. I mean again, like similar to when I saw it's kind of a funny story shout out Mark's List. When I saw this, I was like, fucking hell, man, I haven't seen that film in so many years, but like that is such a striking scene. I met Bobcat Goldthwait at Frightfest 2013. Amazing. when he was there with Willow Creek.
Willow Creek, yeah, fuck, I love that movie. I got really a fight with my flatmate after that movie because he said it wasn't. He was like, that was shite, and we actually got in a proper fight because I was so annoyed about it.
Willow Creek's quality, but like, but when I met him, I was just like, with everything that he's done, I was just like, you know what I fucking love, man, World's Greatest Dad. When I said that, he was like, really? World's Greatest Dad? And I was like, yep. I was like, yeah, it's the best one, man.
It's his best movie.
It's like, yeah, it's the best. Like, regardless, like on either side of the camera, it's the best thing his name's on. World's Greatest Dad's incredible. Like, it's an amazing.
God Bless
film.
America is up there,
but it's an awesome film. Like, I love it.
There's also the scene towards the end when he gets unclothed and runs and jumps in the swimming pool.
Oh, that's brilliant.
I don't know what song's playing over that either, but that's also, obviously it's non-diegetic, but it's a pure cathartic moment because, you know, like, that's him shedding everything finally at that point, you know, and it works really well. Yeah. Such a good film.
So I was saying, it's a great film. Fucking hell, I just want to, like, the minute we stop recording, go and watch World's Greatest Dad. Yeah.
All right, Mitch, back to you.
Okay. So I think that, like, this was the one that I wanted to include, but I also was like, this makes me sound the most like an arsehole.
Oh, I fucking love it. I'm
including it.
I'm so fucking into this choice if it's the one I think you're going to... do you want me to say it?
Yeah, you can if you like, guy. Yeah. I was like, we can see if you guessed right, but I have a feeling that you might have.
Is it Plus pute que tu
le pute? Yes, by Ortiz from Julia Ducournau's Raw.
I have not seen Raw. I've got a friend who loves this film so much, and she keeps telling me to watch it, man.
It's called Grave or Grave in the original French. It's a French movie. It's honestly, it's fucking brilliant.
I've downloaded it and I've got it set up for my October, my spooky October for the rest of the month. So I'll probably watch it this week.
French-Belgian co-pro from Julia Ducournau, her first feature. It's amazing. It's like it's a kind of coming-of-age / sexual awakening film that also kind of like at its core has this examines this developing and complex relationship between these two sisters. It also just so happens to be a cannibal movie. I just think this film's amazing. Like I saw it a few times at the cinema, just like completely jammily. Like I saw it I think the UK premiere of it at Celluloid Screams that year, and then it played at Frightfest Glasgow, and then I dragged people to see it when it played at the GFT. Yeah, it's class. It's like, it speaks about like everything in the last episode when you asked me about what my taste in horror is like and what my taste in films like, that indie sensibility and these kind of normal stories that casually introduce this horror element. It's amazing. It just plays out like an indie drama that has this mounting dread all the way through it, and also these moments of incredibly challenging body horror.
Oh man, it's The body horror in this is fucking tough going.
Gruesome, and and sometimes it's just like something that people can't stop picking at, and it's horrible. But it is also, I think, I think it bears mentioning, this really sexually charged film as well.
The less than delicate metaphors about blood and sexuality and puberty. It doesn't need to be yes, it's kind of obvious, but it works. It's a fucking horror film, in the same way as It Follows was a sort of not entirely subtle series of metaphors about loss of innocence and stuff. This is the same sort of vein of brilliant. There's one of the things horror does, and I'm sure you agree with me here, Mitch, is it allows you to kind of take a weird angle on certain subjects that other genres don't really afford. And the grimness, the horribleness, the body horror just of puberty, horror movies let you sort of communicate that body horror of your body changing before you, and blood and shit and all these things that happen to you, and pus and all that fucking stuff. I love it. It's such a great way to analyse puberty.
I totally agree, and I think that Raw and It Follows are two big ones that I really love, both of them. I think that they pair really naturally in my mind. This particular scene, so obviously, we have this song, which is this kind of very aggressive French language hip hop song.
La drogue me dit bibi, chouchou, je t'aime que pour le milli. Si mon nom c'est Dolly, nichon de roche, je suis trop girly. Goûte au poison, tous mes gris, je te défonce même si t'es...
That has these horrendous graphic lyrics about necrophilia.
Yeah, the lyrics are brutal, man.
I love the lyrics because they were so brutal. I was like, shit, they're going the whole way with this, man. It's so good.
And it's cool though, because you got Justine, the main character, who's 17 or something, and you see her, and she looks incredibly self-assured, and it's an extremely sexually charged sequence where she's dancing in front of the mirror. And I think it's amazing, and I think that the first time you see it, it's really striking, but I think that on repeated viewings it's even better, because you just realise that she is in so far over her head, and the end of this goes so nihilistic and so hard. And I think we talked about Drive earlier, and when you revisit Drive, I think that it gets less impactful with every revisit, and I don't think that that's the film's fault. Drive gets less impactful when you watch it because the violence in it is designed to shock. So when you don't have that first viewing jolt, something is always going to be shaved off on rewatches. With Raw, I think that when as it kind of hurtles towards its end part, when you realise what's coming, when you know what's getting there, it makes you feel worse. I think when I was watching it the third or fourth time in the cinema, when I realised what was about to happen at the end, that was the time that I felt this most visceral, rising up in my gut. It's cool that this sequence has this kind of thing where, like I say, you see Justine and she looks like this self-assured, in the way that you would say a tooling up montage before the third act of an action film, but she just stumbles blindly into this thing that she has no understanding of. And I think that the way that it unfolds after that is really ugly and awful and beautiful and operatic and horrendous. Raw is amazing.
It's fucking brilliant.
But as a crystallization of everything that it built to and everything that it's about to totally deconstruct, I think that it just gets it 100% right. I love it so much.
Yeah, smashing. Bullseye. Mitch, go for another one, man, because you got a few in the bank here. I think the next one's an interesting one. I'm not familiar with it.
You tell me what you have on the list and I'll talk about it.
Oh, sorry. Okay, based on the version of the list that I had, I've got Hearts Beat Loud from the film Hearts Beat Loud.
Hearts Beat Loud, yeah. So I'm very different from everything else that I chose, apart in the sense that there's no violence and no nihilism and no horror, no cannibalism, no nothing.
So
I know.
What's the point?
Yeah, I know. It's like I'm deserting my entire brand here.
No cannibalism, I ask you.
Hearts Beat Loud. Anyone seen it?
See, I like Nick Offerman a lot. So
that sounds like a no.
I'm kind of surprised that I haven't seen it because I didn't even know this existed until I seen this list. So
Hearts Beat Loud. Hearts Beat Loud is like an indie comedy. It's very, very music orientated. As if you've dug in, you'll have seen that there are a few original songs in there and stuff like that. So you've got Nick Offerman here. He plays a widowed man, and he's got the daughter played by Kiersey Clemens here. And you have this story about them each navigating their own kind of personal tribulations. He is kind of a single parent trying to get back out there. She is on the cusp of moving away and going to college, but obviously there's this slight codependency between her and her dad. And you have ultimately what the kind of center point of the film is about them kind of bonding over these songs that they write together. a gripe that I have with the film, and it's a gripe that I have about a load of films that are about the unifying nature of organically writing songs together, is that a lot of the music isn't live. And it feels like a really kind of churlish thing to say, but I think that like when you're trying to tell a story about people naturally bouncing off each other creatively, it's awkward to watch that not be real.
Yeah.
But I think that, like, all that being said, it's like Hearts Beat Loud is just like, it's a simple story about these, like, a guy, Nick Offerman's character, he's been in bands when he was younger. He has still kind of got this notion of doing that again. She is very much like younger. She's going off to kind of pursue her own dreams, and she is writing these things for fun. And then when they get this kind of mid-level of notoriety, neither of them know what to do with it. And the story is just them playing out that conflict against their own kind of like personal B stories. This film's amazing. It's on Netflix, I believe, in the UK. It certainly was until as at a couple of months ago. But the original songs in it are amazing. Very, very catchy, kind of like simmering kind of indie electronic songs, but they're great. And the montage, like I say, I would have preferred if it was kind of organic and it was insane, but it's not. But when you see them writing it together, it really feeds into the kind of positive energy of the first act of the film. And watching them create this, and it all just being kind of like in this montage, and it all just being propelled along by this lovely song, like, because like I said, there's a few there, but Hearts Beat Loud, the title song, is the one that I'm talking about.
It's actually a decent song. I think that really was crucial, because this entire enterprise would have collapsed if they hadn't have come up with a half decent song.
I miss you when you're not around. Not so simple just to say out loud all those words. I feel when I'm alone.
You're 100% right. I completely agree. It's like the only reason that this works is because it's this, like, yeah, and it is this really strong indie pop song, and it wouldn't have worked without it.
Keegan DeWitt, somebody that used to be in a band called The Wild Club, that was in charge of sort of scoring it and writing these kind of central tunes to it.
Yes, you're quite right. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not familiar with it. I'm lukewarm, I think, on the concept, but
the concept sounds really saccharine. It marries it in really nicely with, like, I mean, like your undercard of performers here are people like Toni Collette and Ted Danson.
Oh yeah,
and stuff like that, and it's like it's just a mixture of being like a really nice, uplifting movie about music, but also just has this kind of like very human element that kind of keeps it grounded and stops it being too saccharine. I would say
Toni Collette is becoming like the Philip Seymour Hoffman equivalent. You know, she's just always good, and you just tends to make everything slightly better.
Yeah, and if you see her name on something, you're like, yeah, she probably knows what she's doing. Yeah, I'll probably watch this. Yeah.
Mark?
Oh, okay. I have two choices left. I'm not entirely sure which one to go for, to be honest. I'm also on my third beer, so it could get a bit dicey here.
Rub it in. I'm drinking water.
Well, fuck it, let's go with this one. There's a really small indie film by a couple of up-and-coming directors called the Coen Brothers. Have you guys ever heard of them?
Oh, ringing a bell. Yeah.
Did this film in 1998 called The Big Lebowski. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's a pretty good film.
Keep talking.
It's a pretty good
Keep
film.
talking, I'll get there. Yeah.
By the way, I just found out today that fucking Jeff Bridges has been diagnosed with lymphoma, which is a total bummer.
Fuck. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He tweeted it earlier on today, actually. It was mental. But he also tweeted it with a quote from this film, which is, "New shit has come to light." And new shit has indeed come to light. But this film has a lot of good needle drops in it. There are a couple of ones from Creedence, because he loves Creedence. One that I almost picked was, I fucking hate the Eagles, man. He fucking hates the Eagles, right? But there's actually Los Lobos version of Hotel California in the film. The slow motion pan, when the Jesus is like sort of polishing his bowling ball, and it's a really funny moment. Almost picked that one, but instead I picked Just Dropped In to see what condition my condition is in by Kenny Rogers.
I pushed my soul in a deep dark hole, and then I followed it in. I watched myself crawling out as I was crawling in.
Yeah, no, this is like an exceptional bit of, I mean, how can you put it? This isn't even just a sort of incidental bit of like, oh, that really works. This is a sort of, first of all, it's called a mini film within a film called Gutterball's sort of dream sequence. I mean, it's iconic. It's genuinely iconic. Like a lot of these are good. These are all mostly more or less good, but this is iconic.
Yeah,
it really is. I mean, one of the things that really sticks me whenever I watch this is that it really reminds me of Jodorowsky. It really reminds me of like Holy Mountain, El Topo type madcap dancing weird visions and sort of very strange juxtaposition of like fucking Vikings and ghosts and all this kind of stuff. Really doubles down on the 60s psychedelic druggy thing of Big Lebowski.
Memphis and I got no fare. 8 miles straight up downtown somewhere. I just dropped in to see what condition my condition was in.
It's a fucking great fit, and it's got a fucking key change in it, and you cannot go wrong with a fucking key change.
Yeah, so I mean,
So true.
the scene in the film. So the film itself is based on The Big Sleep by Raymond Chandler, which is one of my favourite novels. Also, Long Goodbye. One of the novels. Why can't I remember that? Anyway, it's based on a Raymond Chandler novel, which is one of my favourite books. Both The Long Goodbye and The Big Sleep
Clearly,
are
yeah.
both two of my favourite books.
How's that third beer going, Mark?
They're both two of my favourite books of all time. And
I can really hear the passion in your voice, man. Yeah.
but one of the things that's really interesting is this actual hallucination sequence that this takes place in.
What a pro, he's still going.
Is his I'm still going. It's a really, I mean, I'm going to make a really good point, I swear to God. So like throughout the film, new shit has come to light, right? He's getting involved in this conspiracy, which is pushing him outside his very cushy little comfort zone he's been in for a long time. And then he has this dream sequence, this hallucination where it's kind of this his ideal world, you know, it's all bowling and hot chicks and getting stoned and drinking and you know, just being himself. And it takes place at a pivotal moment in the film where everything's about to change, you know. So it's a really good break. So you can see he's still thinking about this idea of I wish life was still as simple as this, but it's going in really weird directions. And that's exactly the same as what happens in all Raymond Chandler books. The reason I couldn't differentiate is because all 6 of the books that feature Philip Marlowe are pretty much identical plot wise, and they're all great. But yeah. I love that. Not only is the song used really well, but the way it's sort of I just dropped into see what condition my condition is in. It's because he's like, it really fits the character and where he is in the film at that point. You know.
Yeah. I mean, this is just an unimpeachably good choice, man. Nobody's going to shoot you down.
David.
I think it's pish. No, I don't. Like, no, I
good
think
luck working in this town again, man.
I actually think that it kind of ties the entire film together in a really nice way. I think it acts as a nice centre point to the whole thing. But that's literally the only thing that I have to add.
Yeah.
As Mark brushed past, though, props to Looking Out My Back Door by Creedence when he's in the car.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's great. Just right after he gets his sperm sample taken.
Yeah, after the man milking station, yeah.
So good. Vagina.
Baby boy.
Vagina.
Well, I guess I'll go Tears for Fears, because I just always want to talk about Tears for Fears.
Right, so I've got a question I want to ask you about this, but continue first.
Well, head over heels, the introduction to the school in Donnie Darko.
I wanted to be with you alone and talk about the weather, but traditions I can trace against the child in your face.
Like the spinning shot that goes through shows you the jocks and the stoners, and just, this is an 80s high school. We're in the 80s, we're dealing with teenagers, puts you just perfectly in the moment. Date stamps the movie, and I mean, it's
true.
Tears for Fears.
Richard Kelly described Tears for Fears as pretty definitively the sound of the 80s.
Yeah,
Which I think is hard to argue with.
Can I refer back to something Mark touched on earlier on?
Mm-hmm.
You were talking about Freebird by Skinner and about how they'd shot the scene in accordance with the song.
Yeah.
So Richard Kelly really wanted this song for this scene, but they couldn't afford it. So what they did was they apparently burned through loads of fucking stock and money just shooting this scene, determined, put it to the song, and then sent it to the studio and the band. And the studio were so impressed with it that they pushed the boat out, and the band were so impressed with it that they agreed, right, okay, we need to make this happen. They got some sort of offset against some sort of future royalties thing to make up the difference in what they couldn't afford.
Yeah.
And it also led to the discussion that led to Mad World then appearing in the film, which then went on to be at number one. When
Yeah, although it was a cover, but yeah, it was like that.
yeah, but the original writer was involved in the agreement to include it. So it sort of indirectly, this song being involved in the film helped create the sort of entire legacy of the film, like musically and otherwise.
My hot
I also
take
really-
on this.
I really. Oh,
On you go.
sorry. Go ahead.
On
Yeah.
you go. Sorry, my hot.
No,
Okay, my hot take on this is that I don't think Donnie Darko's a particularly good film. I don't think.
Shut up.
I don't think the
Oh,
song
you're
works
wrong.
particularly well at this point for the most
Oh,
part.
well, you're wrong again.
And
Yeah.
I was.
what do you
wondering-
mean by at this point?
Oh, I don't like. It didn't resonate with me. I've seen Donnie Darko a bunch of times, right? Trying to like it.
Why?
I-
If you don't like it, what the fuck's wrong with you?
Because loads of people say it's
It's
really
okay
good.
to not like something. We're all friends here.
Yeah,
but who the fuck sits and watches something they
There's
don't
things
like a
about
bunch
there's
of
things about it
times?
that I like. There's things about the film that I like, but it's never really cohesive enough for me. And
So which point are you referring to at this point?
Fucking masochist.
I don't actually think that this works in time with the music at all. It doesn't move me at all. Maybe I'm alone in thinking that, but
It's not like fucking Step Up to the Streets, man. They're not meant to be moving with the beat.
yeah, I know that. But it could have been any
Yeah,
song.
I think
it could have been any
well,
song.
No, it's just
Mark,
like a definitive
but I
80s
just
teen
told-
pop
yeah,
song, and it
I
just
just
works
specific-
perfectly at timestamping where you are.
Yeah, you're right. That may be the case, but it didn't.
But
yeah.
Mark, I literally told you that Richard Kelly specifically shot the scene
Yeah.
for the fucking
And-
song.
and what-
So it specifically couldn't have been just any song.
and what?
Mark, you know what? Honestly, right, Mark, I completely agree with Dave's choice for including this because I think that it's class and I love it. But I also see what you're saying. I think that like you could have shopped this out and replaced it with I know that originally
You could maybe do "Ordinary World" by Duran Duran.
well, which didn't come out till 1992.
Everybody wants to rule the world.
But I mean, you could have done it with like an OMD song. You could have done it with something. I mean, I think that the song choice works, but I hear what you're saying. Like, I think that like if it doesn't resonate with you specifically, if that song doesn't, then I can get why you could take a step back from it and be like, well, I guess this could be anything of this ilk.
Mitch, can I just stop you there and just... You're new round here, mate, but diplomacy has no place in the Unsung podcast.
There is also really good.
Right, in that case, fuck the lot yous. The opening song should have been Angel of Death. I'm out.
That would be alright, man. I'd love to see it recut with that, with the wee girls dancing Angel.
They use Echo and the Bunnymen, the Killing Moon, another point,
That's brilliant
which
as
works
well,
really
yeah.
fucking well.
Yeah.
No, like they used that in the now. I know this because they used the Killing Moon and then they replaced it with Never Tear Us Apart in the opening in the opening sequence between the theatrical and director's cut.
Oh yeah,
Cool.
I think personally,
yeah,
I prefer the Killing Moon as a choice.
Killerman's a far better song.
Yeah,
so.
definitely. Chris, next up.
Woo! Okay, I'm going to go understated again because I want to go big at the end. The song, which again we've mentioned in previous episodes and the different guys, is Come Here by an artist called Kath Bloom, and it's from the film Before Sunrise.
No, I'm not impossible to touch. I have never wanted you so much. Come here.
Linklater romantic indie classic. Diegetic, it's actually introduced because the Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy go into a record store. You know the plot of the film, like they're in Vienna for 24 hours, they're trying to hang about because they're just totally hooked on each other. They want to stay awake before the train leaves at sunrise or something. I also really like the sequel, the first sequel at least. But anyway, yeah, they go into a record store and they actually introduce Kath Bloom and the record. Like, she picks up the record. Richard Linklater was a big fan of Kath Bloom and he wanted to use this as a platform to sort of help her as well. And I think it's Julie Delpy says, have you heard this? He's like, no. So they go into one of those old school booths, put the vinyl on, and the scene also has this really nice warm, like, it's a warm scene because they're stuck sitting together. There's loads of sexual tension, there's loads of like traded glances. The static from the record player helps contribute to the warmth, I think, of the whole scene. It's like, it's very innocent and sort of teenage, even though they're in their early 20s in it. Yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful song. I love this song. The lines like "I've never wanted you so much" are extra poignant in the context, and then it actually does that transition out of Diegetic when they leave the record store and start walking around Vienna. But for like the minute or so when they're in that booth, just kind of awkwardly smiling and sort of trying not to get caught looking at each other with this playing in the background. And you know what it's like when you're trying to listen to someone's record. If someone's here listening to my new demo, you don't know where to look. You're like, oh, I'm listening. Oh, you're kind of awkwardly looking about. There's something really touching about it. It's a bit schmaltzy, but fuck it, man. It hits the mark.
I don't know. I think it exists on the right side of schmaltzy. Like the fact that it gives over the entire first half of this clip to, like you say, like them in the listening booth and then both just like trying to not catch one looking at the other kind of thing. Like I think it's really sweet. I think it gets that balance like pretty much spot on. And then when it widens out, it's really romantic and really sweet, but in like a really nice kind of understated way. I don't think it ever lapses into being too saccharine.
It's not saccharine. Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of it. I really like those films as well. I just think they're really well judged.
I like the whole trilogy. I think it's great.
So, Mitch, back to yourself.
Oh, okay. What do I have next? Jings. I have. Oh God. Yeah. Okay. I have Stevie B.
I'll give you my heart, my everything, because I love you. I'll be right by your side.
Yes.
And Because I Love You from Adam Wingard's The Guest.
The first of all, we know in the first episode we spoke about an absolute stick-on 80s crooning classic, and this is it. This is it down to a T.
Yeah,
horrible song. Like, horrible fucking song.
Horrible song.
Perfectly. Can I just use the phrase? It's perfectly shitty.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think that also, if anyone hasn't seen The Guest yet, can I do a whip round in the room on who hasn't or has seen The Guest?
I have not seen it.
I have a great film.
I've seen The Guest 10 fucking times. Like, if any of my friends haven't seen The Guest, I will jump in a car and drive to their house and force them to fucking watch it. It's another one that should be in an unsung podcast of movies. It's fucking brilliant.
It's awesome. It's so fun, and I think as well. I mean, like, I don't know when this will air, but like, I think like if people are looking for something to watch around Halloween, I think that like people should start talking about it in that way as well.
Yeah, because it's got that in it as well. Yeah, it's like it's set at Halloween as well, which is perfect.
Like big Carpenter vibes and all that kind of thing. But I mean, for anyone that hasn't seen it, basically what you have is Dan Stevens, previously only known for playing a bumbling oaf in Downton Abbey.
What a fucking ride!
Appears here as this like ripped super soldier who turns up at the house of this family whose son had died in service. He basically tells them a couple of stories about them. They invite him in. And everything turns out to not be as it seems in this incredibly satisfying, very trashy, very fun way. This particular choice, Because I Love You, I mean, like, I don't want to talk too much about how it gets to where it's going, but basically, ultimately, David, Dan Stevens' character, has some loose ends to tie off. And he has this romantic / sexual encounter with one of the daughter of the family's friends out the doors in the film. And then when he's tying loose ends off at the end, he goes to the place that she works, this restaurant that she works, kills her and blows the restaurant up while he's like tying off loose ends. But he goes there and he meets her, and it's framed and it's shot like this officer and a gentleman style like romantic encounter. But ultimately he's there to just like dispense with things that will incriminate him, so he shoots her and then blows the restaurant up with dynamite. Well,
no,
it's like
two
massive heartfelt ballad plays.
Because I love you, I'll be right by your side.
And like I say, I tried to not make too many of my selections just things where like you had ironic ballads playing while horrendous things happened. But I also felt like I couldn't not include this because I think it's so perfect.
I'm just really glad to talk about that film because it's fucking crazy that anyone's not seen it now.
I really like it's there's not enough eyes on it. It's so much fun, and I think it's actually on Amazon Prime now, certainly in the UK. I rewatched it just in advance of doing this, and it's one of the films that I've seen the most in life, I think.
Yeah,
and it's only been a film for 6 years.
Absolutely, yeah. It just ages really, really well. There's so many great standalone scenes in it as well. When he takes the kid to the bar for the first time, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and like the fight, like those kind of things are shot like Bruce Lee homages and stuff like that. It's really cool. It's awesome, and like it's my favorite moment in a film that is full of my favorite moments.
So before we skip off you, Mitch, let's go for one of your wild cards.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I can do that. So wildcards were things that to the best of our knowledge, weren't in films, but we could picture being in films, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so in a classic, You Can Take the Boy Out of Aberdeen. I went for Scatterbrain by The Excerpts.
Okay.
From
Dave, you know them.
Yeah, I've put them on a good few times. Know the guys well. I remember when that second album came out because they recorded it with
Mike
Sapone.
Yeah,
and they definitely went down a much more sort of. I mean, it was very brand new.
It was very brand new. Like it was.
But it was polished, and it was. But I did really love The Excerpts, and they were a great live band. Very. I mean, I haven't seen them in years, but
I did not know how much they actually sounded like Twin Atlantic. Genuinely.
Don't do that.
No. I'm not. No, I just mean this is obviously much more polished, and like I hadn't realised that they had a sound that had gone in that direction quite to that extent.
I actually
nowadays?
think that.
I don't never seen them live, and they weren't particularly they were a good live band, but they weren't particularly polished. But like this album is quite polished, and that I guess in turn, I mean I'm not massively familiar with it, but it really struck me as being like the US high school opening scene where the alternative guy turns up, or maybe even a sort of Fast and Furious film where the alternative guy gets involved in the race. There's definitely an alternative but US sort of early 20s vibe to it, and it's quite slick.
That's quite interesting to me because I think that Scatterbrain's actually quite a grimy Excerpts record. I think that the things that they went on to do after that were way more polished, and it's like and I think like this is way more scuzzy, and there's a lot more fuzzbox and a lot more like that kind of thing. So with Scatterbrain, I pictured it more as being kind of like an over stylized slow motion ass kicking sequence.
That's exactly what I thought as well. Yeah,
something from like a Ruben Fleischer movie, maybe like a Zombieland or like a John Wick style revenge movie.
Yeah.
But like something that was ultimately shot in kind of like slow motion in real time. Because obviously the song's got a decent amount of rise and fall. You could give like these moments of respite some room to breathe, but also like it would be suitably bombastic when he was dispatching people. I had like a John Wick thing riding high in my memory, riding high in my mind, should I say. Something kind of scuzzy, but something kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I get that.
I guess, Mark, also like to your point, maybe something like possibly like an Edgar Wright fight sequence.
Yeah, it would probably work in one of those films. Yeah.
I can hear you kind of like glumly conceding to that.
I am glumly conceding to that. Yes.
We're like, I see what you're saying, I guess. Yeah.
So while your energy's high, Mark, you want to take us into your wild card?
Oh, you're lucky I was just thinking about a wild card. We were talking about that there then.
By the way, can I just preempt this by saying the three of us, our wild cards are so fucking on the nose, man.
Oh yeah,
like
absolutely.
So unbelievably on brand. I was disgusted with myself.
They really are. Like that's the most beautiful thing about this entire episode is that we've all picked songs that we would definitely pick. there's no surprises for long-term fans of the pod here.
Rip the plaster off, man.
So 23 by Jimmy World.
No one else will have me like you do. No one else will have me, only you.
I'm not gonna fight you on that point though. But I am really interested to know like what kind of scene you imagine that playing along.
It's
with.
the end of a melancholic indie rom-com where
No, it's the end of a brutal horror movie.
Is that not yours?
Your hero is lying limbless, but somehow got the girl. And,
Limbless.
Yeah, in comes Jimmy.
So I was thinking like the indie thing, and then it goes into credits, or could be used ironically at the end of some kind of action film, which might be quite fun.
No, I mean, I'm not with you in any of these. It's got a really big production in it. There's actually something bizarrely Sigur Rossi about the start of this song.
Mm-hmm.
I just see it like it's got some kind of soaring indie drama, teenage feelings, angst, coming of age.
That's exactly what I just said.
But maybe even with a dash of sparkly vampires. Like, it's cheesy as a motherfucker. Like, you know,
it could
actually,
be Twilight. Yeah, it could be Twilight.
yeah, and the thing is, the reason I mentioned Twilight is because the Death Cab for Cutie song, Meet Me at the Equinox, it was in Twilight, is like a better version of this song.
Let me lay beside you, darling. Let me be your man. And let our bodies intertwine, but always understand.
Oh, well, you're wrong, but
I
thanks.
fucking hate Death Cab.
Yeah, same.
I don't know that I think the sparkly vampires thing feels a little bit harsh to me.
Welcome to the Unsung Pod.
Yeah. I may be a peaceful Friday talks on an odd amount of shit.
I'm here from a podcast that's affectionate about things.
Yeah, you guys have manners, man. Fuck that.
No, but indie comedy vibes definitely. Indie sort of romantic film vibes at the end.
I could picture it playing at like at the end of something like a Mark Romanek kind of thing, like a kind of like a I Never Let Me Go type thing. Mm-hmm. Like I could see it feeding into that kind of despair. You know, like I understand diplomacy's not what we're here for, so we could take this offline.
Yep.
Nah, this is the Middle East of music.
Well, yeah, I've gone for Pure Darkness then, really, with Altar of Plagues. Reflection, Pulse Remains, and it's the end of the final track, I think, from their final record called Teeth, Glory and Injury, which is like a fucking amazing and unsung record that I'm probably going to bring anyway at some point. Just because I've actually been listening to a lot of like decent scores recently. Yeah, I guess what I've been finding myself listening to is stuff that's very atmospheric, very about the dark vibes. So scores by, well, I guess Johan Johansson and Sonoa Caves have done Panos Cosmatos scores for Mandy and Beyond the Black Rainbow. Some Johnny Greenwood stuff.
Don't listen to that when you're already having a bad day, man.
Well, I know, exactly. And I think from our previous podcast was Mika Levy's score for Under the Skin. I was trying to think of something that's got that sort of vibe, and I think this totally has it. But then also it's got this motif that's the dee-doo-dee. Which is quite an emotional little riff, very memorable, and I'm like, fuck it, you stick that little motif throughout the film before, and then this is the emotional climax at the end, and I'm thinking it's probably some sort of sci-fi tech horror, but it's got some emotional resonance, hopefully.
Yeah, so it's like, this is like brutal, ugly, sort of blackened post-metal, right? But for the life of me, I cannot fucking picture this being used in a film. I tried really, really hard. Wow. Because, yeah, I don't think it's a bad song, but I just couldn't mentally work it into a space of any particular scene.
I don't know. I thought it was interesting. I would say that I probably had that similar problem with trying to like mentally attach it to a scene, but it's interesting to hear the kind of things that you would kind of shackle it to.
Yeah, I definitely was thinking space. Yeah, loneliness, but probably
I feel like
discovery of an alien of some sort.
We just have that as like a David standalone. I was thinking of space, loneliness.
I feel like it has to only work if it's pulling in towards an incredibly nihilistic ending.
Yeah, and I mean, most of my favourite movies have incredibly nihilistic endings, so...
Agreed, yeah, much the same.
Except
which is why I love Hearts Beat Loud when at the end of it everyone dies.
Yep.
In an airstrike.
Chris, your wild card?
Yeah, My Wild Card again is a song that I've mentioned before, but one of the reasons I love the song is because to me it's so conducive of loads of images. Paper Lanterns by The Shipping News, but the version called Zero Return, which is from the album Flies of Fields. It's a much darker version of the song. There is another version of it, but it doesn't quite hit the same emotional chords. Super brooding, somber, builds up very gradually. The way the drums come in, it's got a lot of like impact emotionally. Air malice throughout it.
If I could define your music taste in a song, it's kind of this, to be honest.
Yeah. Great. I'll take that as a compliment.
Totally
fucking 3 beers in and he's grown a set of balls. I
knew he was going to say that. I knew he was going to say that.
There's just flinging out the fucking sass.
So it's like really fuzzy, trippy. There's loads of feedback. The tempo in it, I think, is quite hypnotic. It's only really got a chord change of like one note up and one note back. It's noirish. I mean, it really, for me, reminds me. I think it would have sat really well in a film like Nightcrawler, the Jake Gyllenhaal film. I think it would have been fucking terrific in that kind of really dark, LA curb crawling sort of thing, or maybe something from the 70s of a similar ilk. Or maybe at a stretch, some sort of cultish ritual. But I really think it's a car song.
Do you know what?
Like
we talked about it on the last episode, but stick a powerful female voice over this song and you've got Angel by Massive Attack.
I think they were fans, so that would make sense.
Yeah,
I think it's a cool song, man. I like this song. I think it'd work well in those positions you were saying, for sure, man.
Mm-hmm. So before we go into our last choices, let's give some nods to some of the fans and supporters of the pod. Again, these are the folks that subscribe. We've got a AAA Facebook group where you can sort of contribute to the shows like this, and there are some names that even listeners will be getting used to. Let's jump straight in with Mr. Kenny Benella.
Oh, Kenny,
a man who's never short of a few ideas. not all of them, or many of them. Much cop. Starting with the track.
You can't sass the listeners. They're the ones that pay for this.
Yeah, I was gonna. Jesus Christ, man! Honestly, these are the people that make this possible. Like, don't shit where you eat.
Treat them mean, keep them keen. Spy Break from The Matrix by Propellerheads.
Yes.
Okay.
They shoot them up sort of a lobby scene.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Late 90s. Maybe the most 90s thing that you could ever imagine.
Yes.
Which is, that's Kenny. That's fine.
Pretty cool. No, but also it's like knowing nothing of Kenny and his oeuvre, I think it's pretty good.
I can't say it's aged amazingly, but he seems pretty attached to it, so let's just go with that. He's got a few others. He grudgingly acknowledged the brilliance of Queen's soundtrack to Flash Gordon.
It's for every one of us. Stand for every one of us. It's time for the body and every man, every woman, every child, everybody. Flash. General Gordon.
Quite why Kenny has such a hard time accepting how fucking fantastic Queen are, I don't know. It's maybe because he likes Propellerheads, I don't know. But
quite why anyone has a problem accepting how good Queen are is a mystery.
By the way, look at this guy above you in this fucking video screen here, Mark Fraser. He's got fucking problems with that shit.
It's not just me. It's not just me. It's David Weaver as well.
Take yourselves for a fucking shake, boys, man. Honestly,
I just like Batman Chris up. I actually don't mind Queen that much.
But even just saying I don't mind Queen, it's like I don't mind orgasms. Fuck off. Right. But he also suggested, and this is quite good, the sort of tongue-in-cheek reworking of Touch Me I'm Dick, which is a version of Touch Me I'm Sick, as done by the band Citizen Dick in the film Singles, which is obviously a grunge film set in Seattle, and Mudhoney, blah blah blah.
Little Elvis, come on. Touch me out there. Once and all, more than once. 'Cause I'm stuck by myself.
Pretty
Obviously,
pretty nice.
obviously
nice
that's
comedy
true.
touch. What else do we have? There were a couple others actually. Vicky Henry picked out Llorando from Mulholland Drive.
Y siempre estaré llorando por tu amor.
Fucking tremendous bit of music
shout.
in that.
Great shout. Great
It's
shout.
actually by a singer called Rebecca Del Rio, no relation to
Lost Oreo?
Lost Del Rio or Alberto. But in that scene, it's just an a cappella version of the song. It's fucking incredibly well delivered. And Naomi Watts and Laura Harring, their characters, are sitting in the audience and just eventually moved to tears by the performance. It's fucking inspired. It really is. It's a brilliant bit of music in a film.
This is the Club Silencio thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Silencio. No hay banda. There is no band. An amazing and weird film. And also, actually, Rebecca Del Rio in another weird film sang in Southland Tales. Our man Fritz, Big Fritz, he chose Neil Young's Philadelphia from the wake scene at the end of Philadelphia.
I've got my friends in the world. I had my friends when we were boys and girls, and the secrets came.
Is that not Bruce Springsteen who sang Philadelphia, or am I just the Streets of Philadelphia?
Bruce Springsteen sang Streets of Philadelphia.
Streets of Philadelphia.
Neil Young has a song called Philadelphia at
Wow.
the wake scene at the end when Tom Hanks' characters passed
Been
away.
many
And I
years
noticed that
since I've seen
it got a good few likes, and it's a bit of a tearjerker, that one. It's it's nice. Greg Love, good shout here. Wake Me Up Before You Go by Wham from the petrol station scene in Zoolander.
Jitterbug into my brain. Goes to bang, bang, bang till my feet do the same. But something's bugging, something ain't right. My best friend told me what you did last night. Left me sleeping in my bed. I was
Which is
Oh, okay, yeah, that's
a
great.
fucking quality call.
Yeah.
That's really good. Greg also picked Dark Knight from Dusk Till Dawn by the Blasters.
these things didn't matter anymore. I thought all that blood had been shed long ago. Dark night.
Which again I think really suits that gritty OTT gothy western vibe of that film. So it's a good shout. Hazel Burgess.
Yo, whoa. You're forgetting about Sweet Home Alabama from Conair, come on. You also mentioned that too.
and Sweet Home Alabama from 8 Mile.
And Sweet Home Alabama for 400 fucking other films. Hazel Burgess wrote almost a book of suggestions,
She
so we've had to trim this down. She picked out a few excellent bits of classic scoring: Adagio for Strings and Platoon, Ride of the Valkyries and Apocalypse Now, Thus Spake Zarathustra in 2001 AD, which we've talked about before, a bunch of Clint Mansell stuff. I'm a big fan of Clint Mansell stuff with Mogwai and The Fountain in particular. She picked Talk Show Host by Radiohead from Romeo and Juliet.
You want me? Fucking come and find me. I'll be waiting.
Although I couldn't find where that was in the film, and was that even in the actual film, or was that just a soundtrack credits thing? I'm not sure. She picked what else? Oh, a good one. It's a Sin by the Pet Shop Boys from Bronson.
Everything I ever do, every place I've ever been, everywhere I'm going to, it's a sin. At school they taught me how to be so pure in thought.
You seen that scene when the mental patients are all at a disco in the mental hospital?
I've not
It's-
seen that film, sorry.
It's really good, really good, and that scene works really well.
Another one was Q Lazarus, Goodbye Horses from Silence
I was
of the
just going to
Lambs.
say, when I saw that Hazel had picked this, I was like, what a fucking oversight on our part, because
Total
that is
belter.
one of the classic bits of like
Yeah.
bespoke song being added to a film. Like,
Things pass into the night, and I said, "Oh no, sir, I must say you're wrong. I must disagree. Oh no, sir."
I mean, can you listen to that song without tucking your dick back? I know I can. Hip to Be
so
Square
many,
by American Psycho also got a shout there. Playground Love, actually, by Air from Virgin Suicides.
Love is all my soul. You're my playground love.
Virgin Suicides is a really good one.
Pretty much everything from Virgin Suicides.
Air stuff in that is tremendous, yeah.
Yeah, like in terms of like something that was like specifically commissioned by one person or one act. Like I Virgin Suicides, that score is fucking incredible, or that soundtrack, it's amazing.
Hazel astutely observed that Bright Eyes by Art Garfunkel from
my God.
Watership Down is remarkably effective if you think about
Yeah,
it.
very much
Satisfies
is,
all
yeah.
the criteria.
Bright eyes burning like fire. Bright eyes, how can you close and fade?
Yeah, really good suggestion. And what I think is another shameful omission on our parts, and she's fucking right. I Got You Babe from Groundhog Day.
They say we're young and we don't know. We won't find out till we grow. Well, I don't know. Well, that's true.
Yeah.
Because it's such a key part of the fucking repetition and the maddening effect of the waking up every day. Fucking brilliant choice. It's a great choice. It's bang on.
She also missed a couple of other ones I want to sort of pick out as well.
She mentioned a lot of other ones, Mark, but unless we're going for a part 3, we're going to be in trouble.
I just wanted to just In the Court of the Crimson King from Children of Men, which I watched recently. Again, it's a great film.
Another great underrated film.
Yeah.
Although it's starting to get a bit of its kind of cult props now. You notice it makes the top of a lot of lists these days.
Yeah, and The Hall of the Mountain King as well from the Social Network, the Trent Reznor version, which is like completely incongruous in the film, but it works so well.
It's such a weird choice to soundtrack
Yeah,
that film.
it really is.
And then Craig Carrick just wants the whole of the Dirty Dancing soundtrack, so
Which is
he's got
fair cop.
got issues.
Fair cop.
There's always one.
Right, so
let's
the
do our
three of us
final
have got
picks.
one left. Yep. And Mitch, I believe you've got another wild card. So do you want to do that first and then give us your last proper shout?
Okay, yeah, sure. So my second wildcard choice was Nearly Home by Broken Records.
Edinburgh Band?
Edinburgh Band, yep. The opening track from their debut album, Until the Earth Begins to Part. To the best of my knowledge, has not been featured in a film. I think could be airdropped into many films.
Especially something like Manchester by the Sea or something like that. I think could work really well in the context of that.
Yeah, I mean, like I think like you guys will listen to it beforehand, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know
okay.
Broken Records well. Great band. I just wish they'd done more recently.
Like I mean, like they still are. It's just like they all have kids and
they're all
stuff.
busy,
like,
yeah.
I love this. I think it's amazing. I think that like I love how properly intensely baroque the opening is, and I love how epic it gets. You know, you could drop that equally into something like you're saying, Manchester by the Sea, like an indie drama. You could put it into something like that. Similarly, you could put it into like at the end of a 3-hour epic fantasy movie when people are kind of like almost back and have one more battle in front of them.
Okay.
And I think that it translates equally well to those things, because I think the Broken Records feed equally well into this kind of like this massive grandiose thing. but
Grandiose
also
is the word, yeah. Grandiose is
yeah, like I mean, actually, it's quite awkward. It's like years ago when I worked at the radio station, I did a phone interview with Rory, the singer from that band, and I used the word bombastic, and he obviously did not like the fact that I used the word bombastic, and we reappropriated it back to cinematic, and I think that is fairer. In all honesty, like I think that he is right, and I think that, but I think that like I say, you could imagine it in any high stakes situation within the context of any story.
It could have been worse.
But, like,
You could have said boombastic. So
I was thinking that, yeah, that's what I heard. One of the reasons I was thinking kind of American Northeast Coast is because I think it walks a really nice line between Bruce Springsteen and the Arcade Fire.
I think that that's true of a lot of the, especially the first couple of records, like of their stuff. I think that's very true. But I think that I think it makes it very versatile, and I think it makes it very translatable into loads of things. But I think like it has this really lovely kind of grandiosity, but also you have this feeling that it's also not recorded with a 32-piece orchestra either. Mm-hmm. You can tell that it is also recorded by 6 or 7 people in a room, and it is just like a grandiose sounding thing. Yeah, and which I think like it kind of simultaneously lends it this big
bombastic.
Don't say bombastic cinematic accessibility, but it isn't too sweeping, and it isn't too it isn't too bombastic, but yeah, so like that was kind of why it made the cut for me. But there's a few Broken Record songs that would kind of work in a similar way. But I think Nearly Home's awesome. But this is partially motivated by the fact that I think that it would work in a lot of films, and partially because I just want to tell more people to listen to Broken Records.
Yep, that's fair. Yeah. Funnily enough, on that note, I am really glad that your last choice for a normal film allows us to shine a light on Your Next, which is another criminally underrated horror film.
Yeah, and another Adam Wingard film, which I didn't realise until I went back through all these this morning, that I realised that my last two were Stevie B from The Guest and Looking for the Magic from Your Next, who are obviously both Adam Wingard movies.
By Phil Seymour, is that right?
Phil Seymour is the version that I've gone for because it's the only available one. The Dwight Twilley one is the one that plays for the most part in Your Next. Yeah, I think this is class. It's really fun. I think that and Your Next is amazing. For anyone that hasn't seen it, you have this wealthy couple who gather their adult children and their partners to this house in the countryside, and they subsequently get terrorized by a group of people in animal masks. The kind of fun mid-act twist in this is that one of the partners grew up on a survivalist compound in Australia, and basically what you get is this 18-cert Home Alone movie.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
is
Turns the tables.
Yeah, but it's kind of shot through with kind of like these fun twists to the familial drama. But very early on, literally in the opening scene of the film, this kind of very sketchy one-scene character played by Larry Fessenden, who is in everything.
He's fucking horrifying, that guy.
In indie horror, but he's always in everything for 5 minutes before he dies. He sticks on this one CD that has this one song on it, and it is Looking for the Magic by Dwight Twilley, and it's stuck on loop after he gets murdered. And you're just led to believe this is going to be like a fun pre-credit sequence, but it feeds back into the story a couple of times, and like when you see people trying to get away, they think that they found solace in this house, and you're like, okay, there's a little bit of respite here. As they get closer, you hear Looking for the Magic blaring before they do, and you understand that there's no savior there. And that's fun, and I think that it does the kind of bleakness of that shot through with a lot of really fun, and I think that that's a lot of what Your Next gets right. It's really grimy, it's really horrible, but it's also really, really funny.
Yeah, I agreed. Yeah, brilliant.
It's like an incredible sequence of really, really fun set pieces that never really fully lets go of the abject misery of the situation. It's fucking class. But also, it resurfaces at the end. A cover version of it, I don't know who does it actually, unfortunately. I know that the Dwight Twilley one is the main body one, but a more upbeat cover of it plays over the opening credits when you get this payoff that you've kind of been pining for the last maybe half hour. Adam Wingard's a great filmmaker. He has gone on to do things that I don't really like. like the third Blair Witch movie and Kong Skull Island and stuff like that don't really tick my boxes. But it's a great horror.
I actually thought Kong Skull Island was pretty good for what it was.
Yeah, I thought it was alright.
I thought it tipped its hat in the right directions, but
No, I mean, like I wouldn't bash it for being what it is. It's not my kind of movie, really. And I think that, like,
It's going to form part of that kaiju crossover, isn't it? Anyway,
yeah, he's doing Godzilla
universe,
Kong
yeah.
next.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but like when what he'd done previously, I guess, were things like A Horrible Way to Die, You're Next, and The Guest. I think that, like, what I would rather see him do is more stuff like that.
Yeah, fair play.
So I guess it's less of a gripe with things like Kong Skull Island and more just kind of being like, I wish that him and Simon Barrett wrote more original horror.
Got to pay the bills, boy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mark.
Yeah.
So my final choice is from my favourite film of all time.
Okay.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it is Johnny Be Good from Back to the Future.
Is this not also Back to the Future too?
Kind of, yeah. It's just the footage from the first film is used in places. So obviously, the original song was written by Chuck Berry, which is kind of the joke in the film itself.
That he phones Chuck Berry.
Yeah.
He's
Marvin Berry.
Like, hey Chuck, it's your cousin. Yeah, like you want to know the joke within the joke is that the message is that rock and roll was stolen by a black man from a white man.
Yeah, it's a bit on the nose in that regard, but it's just a really great moment because it's a song everybody knows, and it's played.
It's true. Again, truly iconic. Like you've hit on another one that is genuinely iconic.
Mm-hmm. And he's like, it's an oldie where I'm from. He plays a song to a room full of people who fucking love it for the most part until he starts going all Van Halen towards the end of it.
I mean, that guitar solo is over the top.
Very much so, yes. But it plays on the knowledge of that thing you were talking about earlier on, Chris. It's like the song does a heavy lift, and all those built into the script at this point is that there's the familiarity with the music, which is like, it's really I said it earlier on and I can't say it now, anachronistic. It's really anachronistic, but it's knowingly done in that way because the guys for the future, and I think it just works super well.
Yeah,
I think there's no kind of like pernickety criticism of this that can really detract from the fun of the moment. Like, I think it's class. Like, it's indisputable.
There's a reason it's so iconic.
100%.
David Boy.
I've gone Born Slippy. By Underworld from Trainspotting.
So much to talk about with a song. Like, I know we're right now, but fucking loads.
Also iconic.
We spoke earlier about songs forming, or albums forming the sort of pacing for films, or the directors listening to music to get into the moods for them. Danny Boyle was listening to their the Underworld album that preceded this, and he described it as the song as forming the heartbeat of the film, and just because of the way it ties into that sort of manic, druggy, euphoric tone. Again, really fucking iconic. The guy from Underworld, Carl, described the tune itself as beauty wrapped around darkness. It's interesting as well because this got mentioned when we did the Britpop thing, because this was one of the anthems of Cool Britannia.
Yes.
This was one, like, Trainspotting was one of the pivotal songs of that year, films of that era, and this was one of the pivotal songs as a result, because this is, like, in a lot of ways the backbone, as much as the posters and the iconography around Trainspotting. This song was synonymous with it. Still gets heavy played as well. For people who can't remember where it came, it's the end scene when Renton's waking up, climax of the film. He's sneaking out with the money. It ties in really nicely because just as the heavy percussion comes in, Begbie's woken up and he's trashing the place, so that really fits well with what's going on screen. Yeah, and I think again Boyle commented on the way that it's like the ecstasy, euphoria ending of a heroin movie. You know, I mean, just incredibly well chosen, or fortuitous, or a bit of both.
And do you know what? I think it's one of those ones where it makes the movie better, but also the movie has made the song better.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely,
like they've both culturally and historically like been improved by their involvement with each other.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a really good shout, actually. Yeah, I totally agree.
Like I don't think you can now listen to that song without the context of the movie, and vice versa, which is quite interesting. So yeah. And it's a fucking banger. I remember when I used to go to the garage when I was 18, that was like the song that they'd finish on. You know, there was like a bunch of 18-year-olds who'd seen Trainspotting and listened to that when they were
hands in the air thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, fuck it. It was an important song for a generation.
And speaking of songs that you can't not associate with a film, Chris.
Fucking hell. I mean,
Kiss
this is going to open it. It's going to open a can of worms, right? Because I know I'm exposing myself to great upset here, but God Gave Rock and Roll to You by Kiss from Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
Fuck aye.
Yeah.
It's
just works
absolutely
so well,
fucking amazing.
So good.
Right? I mean, it's just such a good understanding of what this film was going to represent. You know, just the carefree nature of it, the stupidity of it, the pomposity of it, the sort of like naivety of it. This is like, is this not makeup free Kiss era as well? I mean, it's fucking horrible, but it
is. Yeah, you're right.
It's an absolute fucking ripper. Like, it starts with the band soloing, so it starts with like the Wild Stallions playing, and then it gradually builds up through that solo into the sort of partly sung, partly soloed God Gave Rock and Roll to You refrain. Key changes, it's, you know, it's diegetic, totally fucking latches on, but then it moves on into those kind of spinning paper headlines as it reveals the rest of the history of the world via the Wild Stallions. I mean, it's absolutely fucking perfectly chosen. It's so jubilant, man. It's one of those films. I spoke about a film earlier on where you just end up grinning. You just can't fucking not grin.
Yeah, man.
Like, you can't not grin when this is on. It's a fucking absolute delight. I love it.
The joke is that obviously the joke is that the Wild Stallions are great but also dumb, and it's a big dumb song, and it works so well as that, like, because it just epitomises everything that the band are supposed to stand for.
It's also really weird, I think, as well. Like, I mean, like, it's a bizarre choice. Like, it's a great choice, but also, like, I'm curious about where along the line the decision was made. That like, what we need is, like, yeah, Kiss, who, like you say, were not like they were on the kind of backswing of the pendulum of their popularity at the time.
Yeah.
And it's like, what we need them to do is cover God Gave Rock and Roll to You by Argent, which was a mid-level hit 20 years ago. So what we need is a band on the decline to cover a mid-level prog song that was kind of like a modest commercial success in 1973 for the soundtrack to this film. It's like, I just kind of feel like that had to run past so many sets of eyes that were like, yep, great, can't miss, do it.
It's true. Yeah. I think it's helped by the sort of quasi-religious nod as well, because that's kind of one of the subtexts in Bill and Ted, right? There's this kind of like sort of quasi-religiosity around the Wild Stallions and the way the sort of messianic nature of them.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think God Gave Rock and Roll, even just the title kind of works in that sense.
They're deified.
Yeah, amazing. So and thus concludes both our playlists.
I think it's the best choice in our playlist, if I'm honest.
Yes! Back in the
I
net.
mean, it's also
Well,
the
we
second,
will, we
also
will
the
put
second
this
time it's
together.
come up, by the way. Second time it's come up on the podcast, because I put it on the road trip one last year as well.
Oh yeah, I mean
Yeah,
it's
that's right.
it's going to be up in the podcast a lot, so it's a great tune.
Well, we'll put this together on
yeah.
Spotify, and you
This
can
this
get it.
leaves us one task. All that remains is the
The
Nexus,
final bit of
the famous
business.
Nexus.
This is the first time we're seeing Nexus tonight. Will it be the last? What do they have in store for us? Not good.
Why am I here? You're in the Nexus. This is the Nexus. For you, this is what you want.
Did you brief Mitch on what is expected of him?
Yes, and he's done a due diligence. Jeez.
Is he going to go the correct way?
Mitch, you up to
Or
the
is he gonna
task?
do a mark?
Marshall the mark.
Aye, so my understanding was that I had to link my wildcard selection.
One of them.
To
Yes.
One of them.
One of, yeah.
Well, I'll do you one better. David St. Hubbins
Yep.
Two, Davis and Hubbins.
David St. Hubbins was chosen from the pot last week.
from Spinal Tap, right?
Yes.
So right, so what I will say is like it's a little bit of a superficial connection.
That's all right. Mark loves a superficial connection.
Hey, don't pass the butt.
I know, I was going to say, jeez.
You're the kind of guy who was like, oh, this guy was American, and another American was David St. Hubbins.
No, I mean,
Okay, I immediately feel way less bad. So do I go first, or does everyone? Does it? Does,
Yeah,
you
the
go
guest,
for it.
why not?
And you go.
Okay, cool. So David St. Hubbins, obviously from Spinal Tap.
Wait a minute.
Oh, he's doing a mark.
Wait a
oh
minute.
yeah, you've got to go the other
He's
way.
going back to front.
You got to go the other way.
Back to front.
Oh, Jesus. Oh no, I can't do that.
You can. You just start with your Nexus and you read it backwards.
Well, yeah, I can, but it'll sound way worse if I do that. Okay, fuck it.
That's part of the fun for us, is to watch you squirm.
Oh, good.
Can you,
Okay.
by the way, don't feel bad here, because Mark's been doing this podcast for 3 years and he's still
I
fucked
still
us
do
up.
that all the time, so it's not just
I'm glad. Okay, I'm glad that three of the four of us. I'm glad that three of the four of us will have a good time. Okay.
David, did you notice that we left Mark to explain the Nexus to Mitch, and he's obviously put Mitch in the wrong
I
track?
explained it the correct way, I'll have you know.
He's can't get a fucking help, right?
Okay, fine. In that case, the Excerpts have a song called "Cry" on their 2018 album "Hold On to Your Heart." Broken Records have a song called "Home"
Okay.
from their 2010 album "Let Me Come Home."
I like what you're doing here.
And can anyone see where I'm going with this yet?
They're both from Scotland.
Okay, cool.
They've both got records.
much like Davidson Hubbins. No, I would like to link both, like, so "Cry" and "Home." I would link both of those back to the song title "Cry All the Way Home."
Oh wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
I mean, that's ambitious, but given that you did two at once, I think that can be allowed.
yeah.
Thanks,
well,
I
money in the
appreciate that.
bank there.
Okay, cool. So "Cry All the Way Home," obviously being the first song written together by Davidson Hubbins and Nigel Tufnell when they were writing Tube Station Skiffle, I believe in 1955.
Very good. Yeah.
See, he's done that very well,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, given that he did two Nexi at once, I think,
and then got there in one move.
I think the fact that the link is papery should be kind of like at least a little bit redressed by the fact that I managed to get both bands in.
Yeah.
and
Whereas,
that you left, and that you had to get advice from Mark.
Into
whereas
the backwards, yeah.
Chris will go through 35
It's like a
connections that
handicap.
will definitely
Yeah.
take in Nazis.
Talking handicaps, Mark.
Or mine's even shorter than that.
Shorter
The
than one.
song "My Sundown" from Bleed American appears in Alias season 2 episode 13, and Michael McKean also appeared in Alias, and he plays Davis and Hubbins.
Oh, that's not bad. That's not bad.
There you go.
This is why people are glued to their fucking.
Well, I also had a feeling that it was going to be almost 3 hours worth of recording, so I wasn't really going to fuck around with it, if I'm honest.
Funnily
Yeah.
enough, I didn't take that into account.
Oh, no way.
David, you or I?
I'll go. I've got. Well, it's not quick though. But so Altar of Plagues, they are no longer a band, but James Kelly.
Neither is Spinal Tap.
James Kelly was the singer and played guitar in that band, and he's now a solo musician called Wife, all in capital letters. Wife did a remix of Dillinger Escape Plan's One of Us is the Killer single in 2014. Greg Puciato from Dillinger Escape Plan in, when was it, 2011, had a big go at a few different people. Well, he's always having goes at people, but on this one he said, how much of a fucking dork is Jared Leto? That guy's shtick is revolting, biggest fucking poser, makes Fred Durst seem like Jim Morrison, and then goes on quite a lot.
Yeah. I saw him shit in a bag and throw it at an audience.
Yeah,
so
well, he calls him a dork. So Jared Leto played Joker in Suicide Squad in 2016, and is
played being a generous term.
Well, yeah, I know. He is a fucking dork. Jim Carrey played the Riddler in Batman, whatever Batman it was. I can't remember. But
Batman Forever.
Batman.
Yeah,
Batman Forever. Yeah.
Jim Carrey was in Earth Girls Are Easy in 1988.
He fucking was, yeah.
Musical romantic comedy science fiction, featuring
Gina
a
Davis.
very handsome Jeff Goldblum as well. That film also featured Mr. Michael McKean, who is David St. Albans.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool.
I like it.
Right, this is going to come as a surprise, but mine involves Nazis.
Oh,
No way.
shit.
Shipping news.
Is this normal?
Yes.
Every fucking time.
It's a thing. It's a bit. Shipping News member Jeff Miller was also in the band June of 44. Both excellent bands. June of 44 took their name from the period of time when Henry Miller and Anais Nin were in regular correspondence. Famous friends. As becomes an interesting coincidence, Henry Miller was actually a member of the Socialist Party of America, not the similarly named National Socialist Party of America, who had very different ideas. And actually, National Socialist Party of America make it incredibly fucking hard to Google the Socialist Party of America and get any useful results. But Henry Miller was the victim of Ohio 378 US 184 in 1964, which was a Supreme Court ruling on obscenity. That's the ruling that led to the phrase, I know it when I see it, when somebody was asked, what is pornography? And that ruling, sort of, one of the consequences of it was that the book Tropic of Cancer was banned, regarded as obscene. That was later overturned, but yeah, Miller was the victim of a First Amendment battle in that sense, a very, very hot topic of the time. And at the exact same time, one of the foremost self-appointed First Amendment warriors in the United States was a fella called George Lincoln Rockwell. George Lincoln Rockwell was the founder of the American Nazi Party, the AMP. He is also the fella that invented the phrase white power.
Oh, really?
Yeah, George Lincoln
I thought
Rockwell.
it was Phil Anselmo.
Well, funnily enough, Mr. Phil Anselmo in 2016 decided to use that phrase on stage at a concert.
Too much white wine. Just don't drink too much white wine is the thing you can take away from that.
Yeah, white is not always right. But actually, and this is something that I've been struggling to find, but I would put money on the fact that there was a Kerrang report in like the mid-90s about Phil Anselmo going on stage in a white t-shirt, just said with the black letters white power in it, and he was quizzed on it, and he said it was as a response to so many rappers going up and taking pride in the race, and that he was just responding. And I cannot fucking find anything of that, but I'm as close to certain as I can be that I definitely saw it. But for the purposes of the Nexus, we're just going to have to go with him shouting it on stage and getting in loads of trouble. In
you know when you see it, right?
You know when you see it, yeah.
You see it. So Phil Anselmo and his band Pantera actually covered a song called Cat Scratch Fever for the movie Detroit Rock City, coincidentally, about Kiss. And Cat Scratch Fever was by
Ted Nugent.
Lovely guy called Ted Nugent. Nothing to see here.
Nothing to see.
Ted Nugent performed backing vocals on a charity album called Hear 'n Aid, which is a bit of a kind of piss take of Band Aid. And funnily enough, it was in aid of Africa. Ted Nugent raising money for the Africans.
Wow.
And that entire project was arranged by Dio, Ronnie James Dio. And also performing backing vocals in the same song, a track called Stars, was David St. Hubbins.
There we go.
Very
There we
nice.
go.
Fantastic.
Very nice.
Nicely done.
All right.
Nicely done.
Well, we have come to the end.
We've come to the end. We've got one more task to complete.
Yes, we need to pick a Nexus for next week, and then So thank you very much for joining us, Mitch. Appreciate that.
No problem.
We've taken up
This has been class.
a whole
Mitch, I'm
day,
gonna
24 hours of recording.
I'm going to stir my finger here, and you're going to tell me when to stop, and I'm going to pull the Nexus for next week.
Stop.
And it is...
Well, Anselmo.
It's a new one, another one, this time by our friend Vicky Henry, who put quite a few in the box, and it's Francisco Goya.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
Interesting
Interesting.
artist.
And who do we have
Heavens
to connect that
fucking
to?
Betsy.
Yeah. And Francisco Goya is going to be part of an episode on the post-punk band Wire.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
And
Wow.
the album Pink Flag.
Yes.
Smashing. All right, well, thank you very much for that. Feeling pretty cinematic. We'll have the playlist of our chosen movie songs up online, I guess. Mitch, is there anything you want to plug?
Yes.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I just got done scoring a film called The Ghost Waits that has had a couple of premieres lately. It played at Screamfest in LA and won some awards, and we played at Frightfest, the digital edition in London. It's directed by Adam Stovall, stars McLeod Andrews. That's out there, and kind of hoping that it's going to be wider out there very soon. The rest of the time, I am a co-host of Strong Language and Violent Scenes, a largely horror movie podcast with my co-host Andy Stewart. Generally, we get guests on who are actors, directors, filmmakers, writers who pick a film that they like that generally people don't. It's widely regarded as being bad or poorly received.
What a concept. I hope no music podcast rip off that idea, by the way.
But yeah, we've been doing that for a couple of years. You can get that on Strong Language Violent Scenes on Facebook and Instagram, and Strong Violent PC on Twitter. And that's about it, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, and on behalf of Mitch, can I remind you to go and watch the film Raw, or Grav.
Go watch Raw, go watch After Midnight.
The Guest.
The Guest. If you haven't seen it,
go watch The Guest.
Yep.
Yeah. You're next as well, but I would say Raw, After Midnight, The Guest. That would be you know what? Regardless of what I'm plugging, what I'm really here to plug is Raw, After Midnight, and The Guest.
Amazing.
Thanks for having me, guys. This has been so much fun.
Thank you. I'm really looking forward to seeing The Ghost Waits as well, man. So let me know when that's
cool.
widely available.
Cool. I hope you like it when you see it.
All right, Mitch, look after yourself, and listeners, we will see you here same time next week.
Good night, guys.
Bye.